just as a quick introduction, the way I'm formatting this, I wanted to best simulate how it would be to present to a class, so that's why I'm currently in a classroom presenting like this. There will be jump cuts because I have to walk over there, all the way over there to switch slides, and I don't have a pointer. But yeah, so this is my presentation on the seismic air guns on marine wildlife in the Gulf of Mexico by me. An introduction on what we were dealing with. First, our seismic air guns. They were invented in the 1980s by a geophysicist named Stephen Shelminski, I believe. He wanted to do this because in the 1950s, the way they would try to get information from the water for oil was actually throwing tons and tons of dynamite off the back of ships, letting them explode, and then calculating like the seismic data that was happening after that. So he made the seismic air gun. Image right here. These seismic air guns, these blasts can be heard over 2,500 miles. The blasts happen as often as every 10 seconds for 24 hours I have right here, but I read an article, they can go on for weeks and weeks. They exceed 235 decibels, which is significant. Just for reference, thunder is about 165 to 180 decibels. Okay, so what we have here is a beautifully drawn diagram. I have a diagram later in the presentation, but I just wanted to get make sure you have an understanding of how these work. This is a boat, beautifully expert drawn boat. This right here is the seismic gun. It gets dragged along under the surface. It sends a big seismic blast downwards. This is the soil layer. It is permeable, which means it can get the seismic waves can get through. This right here is a soundproof layer, which reflects. With this reflection, it gets hit by streamers or buoys. That's what does the collecting, so it can accurately depict what's inside the soil layer. Next are rice whales. Rice whales are a specific subspecies of pride whales found in 2021. They are an extremely small population size. Talking to the class like they're there. They're an extremely small population size of 51, last recorded in 2022. It relies on echolocation for its daily functions, so like mating, food, communication, all that stuff. This whale stays in the Gulf of Mexico year-round. That's what separates it from most other whales, pride whales, and why it's so susceptible to seismic guns, or seismic air guns. And they've already faced catastrophes before, like the 2010 Deepwater Horizon oil spill, and then a bunch of government regulations actually advocating for seismic air guns. Before Trump left office, actually, his administration made a rule that actually increased seismic air gun detection, which is not good. Next are the problems. Right over here I have an not as expertly drawn as mine, but a nicely drawn example of the seismic air guns and what they do. Here's the soil layer, and then the sound reflection surface bounces off into the buoys that connect with the streamers to get the data. First main problem, there's been very little regulations of this practice because it yields good results. Because America and oil, they love our oil. And they also have deafening blasts that hinder the whale's daily functions. So as you can see right here. Now, the main solution I had was based off technology. Seismic air guns are a very dated form of technology, and we've been actually making new stuff, making new strides against this. This includes marine vibrosis, or the aquavib. It is it's right over here. It is a kind of large, smaller than seismic air guns device that makes low frequency decibels, low frequency vibrations underwater. It reduces noise pollution. It's easy to transport. It is rather large, but not as large as seismic air guns. And it can detect in shallow waters because of its size, which seismic air guns cannot do. And it's also safe for marine life. Now, most of the weaknesses are funding based, because it is such a new form of technology made in 2016. Much of the funding required is still needed. It also doesn't help that many governments and many corporations have already put a lot of money into more research on seismic air guns, so making a switch could be difficult. And then expenses in general. Marine fibrosis is a very expensive form of technology because it is so new. And then also, like I said, political difficulties. There's a lot of federal ruling when it comes to seismic air guns that it's difficult to fight back. So next are the obstacles, implementations, and challenges. Some of the opportunities: it creates jobs, meaning new technology. You would need more research, or it would increase. You would need obviously like more industrial opportunities to create the product. It induces innovation in other categories, meaning oftentimes one technology is made, it inspires others to possibly go in a different direction and create something new, maybe possibly in a completely different direction. And it slightly eases negative views on oil drilling because we often associate this as oil drilling, and seismic air guns are not good, so having to step in the right direction could possibly ease the views on those. Some weaknesses: investments in seismic air guns are very high already. Like I stated previously, I believe ExxonMobil in 2018 spent over $14 billion researching seismic air guns, so completely switching it could have possibly a backlash. Second point, could have a backlash on developing this new thing. So they would have to possibly revert back to bad practices, not malpractices, but bad practices, just to get the cheap buck. So seismic air guns have been used as the primary source of technology in the surveying of possible oil sites in the Gulf of Mexico. There's really no regard to how these machines affect marine life, and those people must be held accountable, even if it's in policy or other things besides technology. There most likely will be backlash for this just because of the amount of research already put in seismic air guns, but that doesn't mean we can undermine marine life